Cancer. The reward is within reach, and it seems pretty good on the surface, but there might be something shadowy going on underneath the surface. We've got the Three of Cups here, and the way I wanted to look at this in the context of the reward stage of the hero's journey is external validation. Because the Three of Cups, that's celebration and friendship and so on and so forth, and the reward is just what you need, that exact thing that comes in at the exact right time to help you get through the ordeal, to get past these major hurdles in the hero's journey. And it might be worthwhile to check our motivations and our intentions, that are we doing this for ourselves? Are we doing this for somebody else? So let's get into it. I've got the Daydream Tarot here. We're doing another coffee time reading, or chai time. In this case, I made an oatmeal chai this morning. Oat milk, not oatmeal. Three of Cups here. And that is Mercury in Cancer. And Mercury is in the microwave, along with a lot of other planets right now, actually. Jupiter is retrograding through your sign. So let's see here. What do we have? Seven of Wands. I love this like creepy style art, the Coraline style. So Seven of Wands, holding your position after a victory, which I think was Leo's card for the ordeal. So following up on that, Seven of Wands. Maybe some people aren't happy about your victory, about the way you went about things. How many times can I say about? There could be some sort of urge to explain yourself, like your motivations for whatever conflict you find yourself embroiled in. And that could be part of that external validation. I'm thinking of it in terms of a complex, because, like, have you ever reflected on your behavior after interacting with someone and just, like, you did something maybe like approval seeking, or like maybe a little pick me even, and just you get home or wherever you're going next, and it's just like, ugh, why? I don't even care what this person thinks of me at the end of the day. Like, why did I act like this in front of them? So maybe they represent someone from your past. They're hitting some sort of button. So this Three of Cups, it's like the emotional pathway that's been put there by your experiences with other people. And it's getting activated by the reward. Page of Pentacles. Something new happening with your finances, your materials. Maybe that's what you're defending. Some sort of recognition, some sort of award, not reward. Because a reward in the hero's journey, like I had mentioned Coraline, and like, why do the stories and stuff that I like have to have such terrible authors now that we know things about them? It's that little triangle dealy that she gets near the end there, that she can look through and see where the buttons are. That's the reward. It's not like a Tinker Tape parade, anything like that. It's just the one little thing that you need. So maybe you're headed towards that victory where it helps you secure your materials better. But that little pentacle, maybe sticking with that Coraline example, there's something that's helping you see something. I feel like I'm getting a confirmation from the candle, the flickering, but something helping you see the truth of the matter. See where things really are, because the buttons, like those were the eyes of the other world. The shadow self, you know, the devouring mother. So something that you're acquiring here in this stage maybe is helping you see the truth of a social circle. Take that as a yes. With the Queen of Swords and then the Eight of Pentacles, yeah, mastering your discernment in some sort of environment. It could be a work environment, you know, Eight of Pentacles, because that's like the artisan. Because the Three of Cups, I mean, upright is celebration and friendship and all that, but in the reverse, that's overindulgence, that external validation seeking of a group that may not be terribly healthy for you. So are you in a situation with people that, say you have come into some sort of success, what have you? Are they encouraging you to overindulge or even resume vices that you no longer partake in? Could be that. Because I've experienced that before with people who like seem like they're on your side, but then they knew I wasn't drinking anymore and was like, "Oh, hey, it's just one sip, just try it." Like, I don't care what your drink tastes like, dude. Do not care. Escape. Yeah, you need to escape that situation if somebody's trying to, like, I know you don't do this anymore, but here you go. Like, let me shove this in your face. Mars and Pisces. It's like that, I saw a video that was going a little viral a little bit ago. It was a guy who, they got a rum cake for like the kiddo's birthday or something, and they didn't tell him that there was alcohol in that cake, and he'd been sober for 5 years. And you can see him trying to like navigate that situation of like the shock of the moment that people you're supposed to be able to trust have done this to you, and they think it's funny. Like, what a horrible situation. And that's the kind of stuff that happens in family systems that, like, he's clearly the black sheep. And if he is able to establish, like, a healthy distance from them, it'd be one of those situations like, we don't know what we did. And, like, man, if you can't work that one out yourself, you need a kind of help that I can't give you. Just saying. Yeah, organization. You need a larger establishment than me to assist you with whatever's going on in that noggin of yours. Mercury in Capricorn. But I want to dig into that a little bit more in the context of this, because you're mastering discernment within maybe a workplace, so maybe organization. Huh. Let's get another one. Maybe it's a workplace you're trying to escape. Kind of the conflict of the century with many people of like, you know, I can't stand this job, but I do also like having a roof over my head, you know. Doesn't really seem like employment's much of a choice, huh? More like servitude. Involuntary servitude. Because if I can't not participate in this system, in this structure, not a choice. Speculation, yeah, Jupiter and Cancer. Okay, yeah, we were just talking about that. And it's in retrograde right now, but up right here. So maybe there's a divergence of paths that once you acquire the reward, you can see a choice maybe that you didn't previously have available to you for whatever reason. It could be perspective, it could be resources, it could be whatever, you know. Like Maya Angelou, forgive yourself for not knowing what you didn't know before you knew it. Because people talk about, like, oh, if you're in a bad situation, like, just leave. Like, it's just not that simple. So you could be deciding how to proceed. And that could be the catch here with external validation. Maybe you've been on this path for a while, whatever you're trying to escape, whatever adversary in your hero's journey is that you're coming up against. And now you're at that final threshold of, okay, there's no takesies backsies. Like, I do this, and we are on this path for real, for real. Because the reward, the way I see that is it's the last stage in ascension. You know, people talk about in Tarot land and spirituality and whatnot. Ascension, like, what does that mean? I think it's the approach, the ordeal, and the reward. That is what people are referring to when they say, like, leveling up or ascension or so forth. It's those complicated processes that test who you are and help you peel back those layers and get to the authentic self. But, oh, we've got the moon on the bottom. Very stark moon. So on the left here, I want to know more about this organization and the Queen of Swords, the Eight of Pentacles. So mastering discernment around what? Is that the reward? Because, of course, there's the, like, the esoteric, intangible rewards, the wisdom and the whatnot. At the end of the day, you can't subsist on fresh air. At least not in this society. You know, it's totally understandable to have pentacles in your mind. Oh, maybe not. But this Three of Cups, whoever that group is that represents for you, that could even be the external validation of, like, society. You know, that toxic positivity stuff that we see on Instagram. Like, it's about the journey, not the destination. Like, girl, I got bills to pay. What are you talking about? Like, we have to have one foot in reality as well. And it's weird to me that, like, people get all uppity about charging for spiritual services and so forth. And even when it comes to art, you know, people are always trying to haggle down artists and whatnot. Like, how are they supposed to make a living? Like, you're really saying that they don't deserve to make ends meet because they're setting their prices for a reason. Oop. Two of Pentacles in reverse. Yes, something's out of balance. And that really looks like an owl to me. Like, just the silhouette and it looks like big eyes. But in reverse, we're out of balance. So the organization is out of balance? Maybe it is in regards to your materials. You know, you're working too much for too little. Another plight of the pleb that so many of us go through. Like, wait, you keep expecting more and more and more, and if you don't pay me more, it means you're valuing me less and less and less. Like, you're actively devaluing my work, the more responsibility that you put on my shoulders without increasing my compensation. And these are the type of things that I feel like employers don't like to hear. Like, for some reason, bursting the bubble on the fantasy land doesn't seem to be appreciated. Maybe it's because it's harder to control people that way. If we, like, hey, I can see you. Like Oz behind the curtain. I know this game. And I don't know why we're still playing it. Probably because we're still participating in it. Like, we have to for, like, the bills and whatnot, but to a degree, we don't just have to, like, play along and pretend like reality doesn't exist. So is that what's out of balance? Two of Pentacles reversed. So organization. More Pentacles. Okay. The Ace of Pentacles. This feels like leaving to me. Like, it's giving me the Fool vibes. Things are so out of balance, you're leaving. Which it happens. You know, job's a job. If they're going to treat it like it's just business, like, treat them like that too. You know, you didn't do anything to incentivize me to stay. You put your boot on my neck at every opportunity. I gave you chance after chance to prove that you were going to treat me like a human, and you opted not to, so I'm out of here. On this yellow brick road. Goldenrod. Whatever. So things are so out of balance in this organization that you are out of here. Ace of Cups. Ooh, two aces. Okay. It's kind of giving me 11-11 vibes. And I don't mean in like a twin flame context. I mean aligning with your path, as it were. You know, the path on here. But the expression on this guy's face. Have you been single for a minute? Maybe you've been so wrapped up in whatever this imbalance is that it's jarring to think of partnering up. Or it could be, you know, that aligning with that path, whatever your love is, your passion is, doesn't have to be a person. Could be scary. Maybe you're going your own way. Tired of being at the mercy and the behest of somebody else's fragile ego. That's one of the things that's always ground my gears, is that management operates relatively unchecked and can just wreak havoc over people's lives. And then it's up to the person who's been victimized to do all the proving. It's like guilty until proven innocent when you go up against an employer, because there's like two justice systems, you know, the haves and the have-nots. And when they're backed by an organization that doesn't want to be taken to task, they are the haves, you know? But what else? But I mean, two aces, so out of balance that, like, we are just wiping the slate clean. Just done. Done, done, done. It's like that ominous, like, da, da, da. Queen of Cups. In reverse. Yeah. Had it. Had it. No more. The feelings are out on the table. Everybody can see the truth of the matter. There's no more playing politics of, I'm going to pretend things aren't happening that are definitely are, and we both know are happening, but there's a weird expectation that I'll live in cognitive dissonance land to make people more comfortable who could not give an F how I'm doing, how I'm being treated, how their actions are affecting me. Like, why should I consider you? Just because there's a power imbalance and I have to be nice doesn't make you right. What is this? Yeah, rebellion. Mars in Aquarius. Yeah, seems loud and clear what, you know, this reward stage is about. And so this rebellion going up against a difficult organization, a difficult situation, what have you, people are going to have opinions. That's just, you know, there's loyalties, there's social contracts, there's perceptions. That's really, I think, what makes this stage and this phase, that ascension phase of the hero's journey, so hard. Because, I mean, going up against the establishment, the system, whatever, the status quo, people don't like change. Even if it's positive change, if it's healthy change. Our brains are wired to keep things the same as much as possible, even if it's to our detriment. So maybe brace yourself for that in what you're dealing with. And consider, too, what opinion is coming at you. Because if you have articulated and you've expressed, you know, these terrible ways that you're being treated, that's what's causing you to go up against the status quo, and they're arguing against your position. What they're arguing for is for you to continue to be treated badly. That's a tough reckoning. That the people around you who jibber jabber about, we care about your mental health, we want you to get better, and we want you to be healthy, and we want you to be happy and enjoy working here, and this, and that. And then you bring problems to their attention, and they're like, oh, we're actually not going to do anything about that because it would require effort and change on our part, and us, like, confronting ourselves, which you can handle that. Romance. That feels out of place. Venus in Taurus. I'm gonna need another one. What? I mean, unless this is becoming like a dramatic war movie that you're gonna fall in love, as part of this. You went in the lone wolf, the one person army, and then you get swept off your feet. Let's see. Egotism. Mars in Leo. A lot of Mars cards. So conflict for sure. But egotism. I'm feeling like altruism there as the antithesis of this. So maybe in a way you've been struck by Cupid's arrow, but for your respective cause. Is one of the most criticized traits about me growing up was that I was altruistic. And I mean, I say growing up, that's also been criticized as an adult. Like, I'm too altruistic. Like, I don't see that as a bad thing. I see the lack of altruism as bad, you know? And that kind of points back to this people are going to have opinions about what you're doing. Because it could come in the form, maybe not of just an overt, like, shut up, hippie, get a haircut, you know? Like, it could be really covert, like, oh, it's great that you want change, but is it feasible? Like, kind of tossing in that doubt under there, like trying to kick the chair out from under you a little bit. Because if you're steamed up, all this Mars energy from the other side of the table, the other side of the board on this organization, would it be wise to approach you in a direct manner? My inclination is to say no. Because the conflict is not over yet. And if you recall Coraline, excuse me. Sorry, still on the mend from that sickness. But if you recall Coraline, at the end there, after she got the little triangle thing, she still had a conflict with the other mother. So there's still that, like, climactic battle, what have you. And it could, just be an email, I'm out of here. Whatever. However that manifests in your situation. But over on the right, what is going on the other side of the board? That's what I want to see. On this Three of Cups, this external validation that we need to be wary of. What's on the other side? Because I don't get the feeling that there's a want, like an earnest desire for validation from whatever you've just absolutely had it with. But there might be like social conditioning that kind of takes over. What I was talking about with the, like, if you've ever acted like a pick-me and then you get grossed out by your own behavior, it happens. You get, like, what's it, Twitter-pated? There's just some form of conditioning that might be coming up in this. Maybe, Hi, Kitten. Good morning. Um, Maybe it's a little out of character for you to have a direct approach in a conflict, because we're coming from the approach and the ordeal, so we have barreled through the defense mechanisms into the inner sanctum. Like, we are on a mission. We have an objective. Yeah, Kitten. Is there some sort of doubt being introduced by the other side? Ooh. Ooh. It's interesting behavior when the cards do that. Because it feels like there's more behind whatever this is, and it is the Four of Cups. So in the upright, that's the apathy card. Then this is rejecting an offer, because you might see something like in the fine print, that would have created a bunch of problems for you, the cards spilling out like that. So trying to hide like a little avalanche of stuff. Keep you occupied, keep you distracted. The world. Ending of a cycle. That's definitely giving Atlas Shrugged. Or even just Atlas, But Atlas Shrugged, altruism. Maybe you need to play BioShock. Just saying. Always a good choice, I think. Hi, Kitten. Good morning. You had your chowder. I got her little pouches of, it's like fish chowder for cats. She gobbled it up. The world. I feel like I need a little bit more. Because, if you're not happy, I assume there's some unhappiness on their side. It kind of seems like they're trying to keep you in place, though. Like, keep you from going after these aces. What? What? Are you not getting enough attention? How's that possible? So what about the world? And why would they even want to stop you? Does it do something to expose the behind closed doors behavior? Because, all these cups are upside down. It's like their content can be seen. Like whatever got you to that point of F this shit, I'm out. Just, they don't want it to be seen, so making a bad offer to try and stifle the rebellion? I wonder. Because the Three of Cups, the Four of Cups in the Rider Waite, it's somebody sitting under a tree, arms crossed, not having it. And the one cup is coming out of the sky, the hand of God. And there are 3 cups on the ground, like in the foreground. So it's like, like you've already done this song and dance. Like you've already seen their offer. You've seen their hand. There's a big world to explore out there. This could be holding you back from it. You know, and like we were talking about, it could also be the matter of materials holding you back. I've seen those memes like, you know, people say quit your job and travel the world and whatnot. I'm like, cool, I can make it to my driveway. But what about the world, and why are we so quiet all of a sudden? Tell me more. Here we go. Ace of Swords. 3 aces, wow. But it's Ace of Swords in reverse, Knight of Wands, and the Hierophant. So the Ace of Swords, that's typically clarity. So, like, obscured. And a Knight of Wands, a very passionate individual. And then the Hierophant, that's the organization. So an offer could be made by a very passionate individual who represents the organization. And I'm getting the feeling that it's not to your benefit, because it could stop you from potentially ending this cycle, being able to escape this situation, being able to go forth and see the world how you see fit, live in the world how you want to. Because that's the other side of the board. Like, that's back to the Coraline. Hi, thank you, kitten. Back to the Coraline example. She was trying to keep her there. And she got right to that, like, pivotal moment where she was about to, like, sew on the button eyes. That feels like that fine print moment. Like, there's going to be something right there at the end that is like, oh, you didn't tell me about this, you know? So, of course, like, if you're signing anything legally, get it reviewed by the appropriate professional. I don't know if there's attorneys or whomever that work on contingency to review a contract, because it's not really that situation, but if you're looking for like a pay later situation, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, like someone that works on contingency. Mm-hmm. Yes, kitten. I hear you. And you already had breakfast. Let's get a little more about the organizations side of the table. Now they're like feeling like super villains to me. Like I'm seeing the panel, like the big circle table in my mind's eye. Yeah, okay. Caution. Mercury in Virgo. They've got all those little deers and stuff there. So maybe there is a panel of people involved. And Mercury, that's communication. So caution with not only the communication you receive, but the communication you provide. Because if this is like an official situation that you're separating from an organization and you're discussing severance, things like that, I would be wary of lowball offers that don't look like lowball offers. Because to us plebs, a lump sum looks very, very tempting, because we've been, like put my tinfoil hat here, but by design, the lowest layer of the pyramid on which all others depend, we're kept in poverty wages, and it's by policy. This could be resolved with policy, like the next election cycle. Um, it's not going to happen, though, because people are greedy, unfortunately. And I lost my train of thought. Foggy. That's usually what happens when I'm talking about something I get triggered by. Like dissociative symptoms. So some sort of fogginess in... Oh, like your resources. The lump sum looking really, really attractive because you've been left to suffer for so long without any help. And now it's like, oh, here's your carrot. Like, no, I talked to you about getting my carrots before. We've made it all the way to this point. We gonna fight. And that might be litigiously. I think that's like litigation. And a lot of pressure gets put on in those situations to avoid just that. Because the organization doesn't want to be seen for their true behavior behind closed doors, hiding behind policies and like, well, you can't tell people how you were treated here. That would make us look bad. That's the point. That's why, it's so difficult to dig your heels in when it comes to sticking to litigation. Because mediation is a lot more attractive for the other side of the table because they get to control the narrative, they get to control everything, and dangle, lump sums in front of people's faces with an NDA or something like tucked in to the fine print somewhere. And that panel of people, like, you could be feeling a lot of pressure from the like duplicity of voices, the multitude of them, to cave. And if you've made it this far on the hero's journey, like, it's your life, make your choices and whatnot, but don't cave. Please. We need more rebellion. Especially if something's got you so out of balance that you have to leave, like, ensure you're taken care of to an appropriate, like, in proportion with what actually happened. Don't let people take advantage of you being left to suffer in survival mode for so long. Like, remember, they were the ones that put you there. They were the ones that turned your suffering into a spectator sport, and now they want to, like, be the good guy coming in with, like, let us help you out. No. Adaptability in reverse, Moon and Gemini. Do not budge. That's what I'm getting, this Kali. Do not budge on your position, even though I feel like you're going to have a lot of voices coming at you, a lot of opinions, a lot of like, why are you being like this? I got context from one side of the story, and that's enough for me to tell you that you're being terrible. How could you be terrible on my assumptions? Ooh. That flipped over and then back, but I'm taking it. Revenge. Another Mars card. Mars in Scorpio. So I'm not getting like active revenge from that, but it's just like a petty offer, like something they know isn't a good offer, to just be a dick. You know, like make your life difficult, keep you embroiled in the legal battle longer, you know, like when people drag out divorces and stuff. Um, because this too, this could absolutely be like a divorce situation, you know, all the legality, all the pentacles, and the three of cups, people's opinions. I remember when I got divorced, I was called selfish for holding my ex to what they said they were going to do. Like, because I couldn't afford that place on my own income. And during that separation process and whatnot, like, he had said, you know, I'll help you with the rent. But then he didn't. And I was in a bad, bad financial way. And then it was his parents who were like, "You're selfish for trying to get this money from him." I'm like, he's the one that made the promise. Like, let your son act like a grown up and actually talk to me himself. And what, kitten? That was one of those eye opening, like, oh, there's those true colors. I see that. Hmm. But what what's the advice for the reward for this clash? What do you think, kitten? Six of Swords. But it's in reverse. And the song that just started playing in my head is Don't Stay. What you're feeling. Gosh darn it. I need to look that up. Where's my iPad? I can hear it. No, not the Linkin Park. It's more like a ballad. Tell me. I don't know. Maybe I'll find it, maybe I won't. I'll put it in the comments if I can. But it's like, don't stay, tell me what you're feeling. It's gonna drive me crazy. But the Six of Swords in reverse, and this is really giving like an Eight of Swords vibe. The way she's kind of like trapped behind those. So it seems like they are trying to keep you in place. And I mean, if it's a divorce, like I understand, you know, trying to make your life a living hell, just not showing up to mediations and things like that, and playing stupid games, winning stupid prizes. But if it's like a work situation, I'm baffled as like, if you're not happy, I'm getting that they're not happy either, but why would they want you there? I don't know. More swords. Four of Swords. Rest. They want you there so they can rest? did they do something really, really wrong? Like, keep your friends close but your enemies closer? Like, if you are there and in view, you can be kept an eye on? Maybe you know something? And if you do, report it. It's just my 2 cents. You know, it's your life. If you know of wrongdoing, report it to an outside party where you can get help. Um, because we all know by now HR is not your friend. They're there to protect the company. They're there in the interest of assessing liability when you know something, that, like wrongdoing or have a complaint or whatever. It's outside agencies, lawyers, whatever, that would be the ones to take them to task. It's not going to come from an internal thing, unfortunately. Could be a different story if you have a union. That's going to be, of course, a case-by-case basis, like what your situation is and what's covered in your contract. And that's kind of the hardest thing about these situations. It's knowing the most effective point of entry for whatever you need to bring to the surface and how to best protect yourself in that. And my advice is the most removed. Like, your point of entry that is most removed from where you are is the best place to start with your report. It's the most arduous and the most tedious, but it will be seen that way. And whatever you are experiencing, you can put a halt to for other people and yourself. Most importantly, yourself, of course. Got to put on your oxygen mask before you can put on other people's. And it seems like every time I want something from the other side of the table, the cards go quiet. Because I want to know why they need to rest. Like, why is you staying restful? Okay. 9 of Wands. Boundaries, the wounded warrior. And that is another perspective on the 9 of Wands. Because the 9 of Wands, they are a warrior that set out and started this undertaking of whatever battle they were fighting and whatnot. But once they reach the 9, they're reaching the point of, do I even want to fight this battle anymore? Do I even want this anymore? I picked that up from Witch and Scythe. It was on her, what was it? The All Signs reading? That was cool. I like hearing the backstories behind different cards and different interpretations from other people. But that does follow, like, what I was talking about, this long journey. You know, don't give up your position. So maybe the other side is just trying to wear you down and get you to give up. And incentivizing you with the carrot that they've withheld for a really long time. That is strategery. And that could absolutely manifest in a divorce situation. Like, you know what, I'm so tired of this. You can have the house, you can have the car, whatever it takes to get me away from you. You know, and protect yourself, protect your assets. Restlessness, yeah, you might just, the anxiety. Mercury in Aries. But yeah, the anxiety, the just like, is this ever gonna end? Oh my god. And yes, it will. The Ouroboros will continue to eat its tail Things will change. And then they'll change again, and they'll change again and again and again. You know, all things good and bad must change. And the frustration, the I've had it's totally valid. Don't let anybody diminish what you're going through. If, they don't want to hang out with Eeyore, find your Winnie the Pooh. There are people out there that will be kind regardless of what you're going through. And that will understand, if a situation is ongoing, or maybe if you struggle with rumination like I do, you're going to bring up the same things over and over again. It's just a thing. Authority. Mars in Capricorn. So much Mars energy. What is Mars doing right now? I think in Sagittarius. Mars is in Sagittarius. And the triangle is like Illuminati. Secret societies. I think we're almost in Capricorn season 2. Coming up on that. December? Yes. So saith the candle. But authority, that restlessness could be with whatever authority you're going against. It could be perceived or actual authority, if it's like a judicial thing. Or if you're handling things in mediation, whatever. You could be just beholden to their schedules, operating at the pace of government. Things work super slow. Because I remember just the big, big delays in my divorce of like, okay, didn't show up to mediation. Now what? And it'd be like months in between things. And that's another thing that might make the carrot more appealing. That's just taking forever. Maybe an authority is stepping in December to bring this to a halt. That like, okay, this has been going on too long. Enough. Or maybe you need to seek another authority and bring them in. Be like, look, I've been coming to the table. I've been trying to do this. And they're not responding positively. If it's a work situation, maybe you need to talk to your union. Maybe you need to start a union. Ooh. Even better. Friendship. Moon in Cancer. Your ruler. And a heron. Osiris. We had talked about external validation and whatnot. That might just be a word of caution to check your motivations when you're talking to people about things. Are you just looking to have your position backed up? Or are you venting? Or do you actually want advice? Again, all valid things. Just know what you're doing and why you're doing it. And we've got the Dark Goddess Oracle here. I want to see if we can get maybe a little assistance, maybe an authority to help us, meditate on. Maybe their stories and their myths will be helpful to us in this reward stage. What else about friendship? There's something more there. I'm also getting that not everyone is your friend. They might come across friendly. They might even be, you know, respective to the situation, a psychopomp, a guide. That was two, not one. Because Osiris, you know, the god of the underworld, of judgment, of the dead, that's a whole different realm. And if you're going into new territory, you might need a companion to help get you through to the other side, to the next stage, to complete this ascension. And you might also just need that extra hand being, you know, battered and bruised from this situation, you know, metaphorically speaking. Hopefully, better be. Kali, again. Okay. And in reverse, again. Don't let up on your position is really what I'm getting from that. You know, destruction is what the little subtext says here. But interesting that she doubled up like that. So, really calling on a big energy to help you, whether that's a deity or a big authority, you know, going to some sort of outside agency, getting a lawyer or whatever, some shark of a lawyer. Because this does feel either like business or like divorce, something really relevant to materials. But Kali is a supreme being, like the Morrigan is. And beings of time as well. So that could be important. Timing, or working, doing time workings, doing anything with like Saturn. You know, more pointing more towards that Capricorn season. And Kali has, I think, three, at least main forms. I don't know if she's got more. And I think Ma Kali, like where her skin is black, she's got her tongue out. That's the form that I'm seeing in my head. My mind's eye. Oop. And looks like you're going to be listening to some Tool if you want to. Parable and parabola. I love that transition. It drives me absolutely bonkers if there's a space in between those two songs, because it's such a good transition between those two. And what album is this? Lateralis? I think so. There is a song on there that talks about, I think, Saturn rising. It might be The Grudge. So maybe that whole album has some sort of insight for this stage of the hero's journey for you. And overall, I'm just a fan of Tool, so any excuse to listen to them, but a lot to think about, a lot going on. I would say sleep on any decisions before you make them, I think is just generally good advice. Get it reviewed by the appropriate parties. But I think your reward in this stage is really sharpening your discernment and then getting ready for the next stages, the elixirs, and to complete this cycle of the hero's journey in 3 more stages. So overall, I hope this helps. I hope this resonates, and if it doesn't, I hope the next one does. Thank you so much.